Well, it is another week. It is another dominant Packers win that not only wasn't close, but probably wasn't as pretty as it could have been, which is a really terrifying thought for the Green Bay Packers through 2 weeks. I am Dave Helman. I am joined tonight by my guy Derrik Klassen. And Derrik, here's my overarching thought as the Packers beat the Washington Commanders 27-18 at Lambeau Field. It's September. We got a long way to go before we truly know who is good in this league. That said, you can't do a whole lot better than putting belt to ass on two playoff teams from the year before. Like, we're not going to see a team with a better resume through the first 2 weeks of the season than this.
Yeah, you beat the two teams that played in the NFC or at least got to the divisional round of the NFC playoffs last year. You
the number one seed from
last
year.
Yes.
The number one seed from last year, and the team that got to the NFC title game in their place. Like I said, I mean, we don't know if the Lions and the Commanders are as good this year as they were last year, but with the limited data that we have, it's awfully impressive, dude.
And this game only ends 27-18. You look at the box score, look at the numbers, and it's that's not that crazy of a win, especially when these are supposed to be two good teams. That felt like they beat them by 24 points. The Packers were so obviously the better team for this entire game. And if not for a couple of okay, they missed one kick, and then they had a weird little red zone sequence where they weren't able to punch in a touchdown when they probably should have. Other than that, though, they were getting explosives whenever they wanted. They were running the ball as well as they wanted. And defensively, that was about as good as we've seen a team play Washington in I don't know how long. We got a couple of those performances early last year, but this was, a lot of times when we see performances like this, we want to be like, oh man, what was wrong with the quarterback? I don't even feel like Jaden Daniels played all that poorly. It's just nobody was ever open. The right side of the offensive line was losing constantly. And I thought the Packers actually did a really good job of they knew the game against Jaden Daniels, which was if we're in zone, everyone has to play good eyes. And if we're in man, it's okay, whoever our defensive linemen are, whenever we're looping, twisting, whatever it is, whoever the second guy is, you got to be ready to go contain Jaden Daniels. And I thought they did an unbelievable job of that tonight.
You alluded to it with what you were just saying. And we're so conditioned to think about offense when it comes to the Packers. And Jordan Love, it wasn't the most amazing night of his career, but he flirted with 300 yards. The Packers had 6 explosive passing gains by halftime. I don't know off the top of my head what the final number wound up being, but there were at least a few more after halftime. The offense looks great, and they've flirted with 30 points. Great might be an overstatement, but they look good. And they flirted with 30 points 2 weeks in a row. And who cares? Because that is how fun and exciting and nasty and physical and fast this Green Bay Packers defense is. And it's easy to zero in on Micah Parsons as the supercharging element to this whole thing. But I thought this was a night where, and Micah obviously has a gravitational effect on everybody, but everybody on this defense had a little bit of a chance to show their stuff. The linebackers were everywhere, making life miserable on Jaden Daniels. It felt like the DBs were running Washington's routes for them. I mean, I think Keyshawn Nixon had 5 pass breakups in this game. They looked so much faster than Washington's offense that it didn't even look like that much of a challenge. To do I like to do and bring up a college football analogy, this looked like an SEC or a Big Ten team playing somebody from a lower conference where it's just yeah, man, they got all the horses. And it's just not supposed to look like that in the NFL.
It's really not. And this was such a, I think when we sometimes talk about how does a front really affect the coverage, or how can coverage really affect your front? And obviously, I think the way that Green Bay has built this is that this is a defense that you're hoping the front can affect the coverage and allow them to get away with certain stuff. And I thought that you could clearly see that on a lot of the clear passing downs where it's okay, they are either doing some weird stuff with their twists and games and stuff with their 4-man stuff, or bringing 5 and 6 guys. And because they know those pressures are going to get home immediately by virtue of Micah Parsons being incredible, Rashawn Gary having a good game, Lucas Van Ness, and just doing a good job of scheming open free rushers every now and then, these DBs were never scared to just attack. All these curl routes that Washington was trying to run, all these other timing routes, some of the out routes they were trying to run. The Green Bay Packers DBs, especially Keyshawn Nixon, who you mentioned, he had a phenomenal game. They were just not afraid to clamp down on everything. And I think when the pass rush is going to get there a half second early than other pass rushes, it allows your DBs to play like this. And I think if they're going to be able to do this all season, like even if we don't love these corners on paper, if they can just do that every week, I mean, maybe not that well, but like some form of that, they're going to be in a good spot.
It's a hell of a lot easier to play cornerback when the opposition just has no time to figure anything else out. I mean, basically, the story of this game for me can just be reading down Green Bay pass rush stats and giggling at them. Because, I mean, Micah Parsons finishes with 8 pressures on 44 snaps. 6 of those come in the second half, obviously, when Green Bay can turn their pass rushers loose a little bit. 3 quarterback hits, half a sack. Here's a stat that I loved. You mentioned Rashawn Gary, and this is the Micah Parsons effect. Rashawn Gary got doubled 1 time in this entire game. He had like 33 pass rush snaps and faced 1 double team. Lucas Van Ness faced like 5 double teams on 30-something pass rush snaps. Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper combined to rush the passer 12 times, or maybe it was 11 times. And they created pressure on half of those. Like, this is the type of stuff you can do when you have a gravitational player on your pass rush. And yeah, I mentioned it, but we talked about it before the season. I worry about the juice with this Commanders offense. And he, like, as good a player as he is, Terry McLaurin is not that guy. Deebo Samuel, I think, he's looked good through 2 weeks of the season. He had a nice kick return in this game, but there's not a lot here that is scaring you if you are a competent, well-built defense. And when you mix that with a pass rush that can do almost whatever it wants to, it looked like Washington was fighting for their lives on every drop back in every aspect of this thing, like fighting to create separation. Obviously, the offensive line had a long night. It's hard to find answers anywhere.
It really is. And like, there is part of me that I really do think this just says more about the Packers defense than me being like, oh, the Washington Commanders offense is going to have issues. They'll probably be okay for the rest of the season. But I do think to the point that you're making, like 2 things I think really, really worked out in Washington's favor last year. One, they hit on a ton of deep balls, especially just deep outside the numbers, especially in structure. Like some of the ones to McLaurin were huge. And in this game, they just didn't really hit on any of those. Like the only deep ball they really hit was kind of the out of structure one later in the game to Luke McCaffrey, which is not really a lot of what they were doing last year. It was just a lot of go balls and fades and stuff like that. And the Packers were on all that stuff. So that got taken away. And then the other thing that was super impressive to me, in the Next Gen broadcast did a fantastic job of pointing this out. So the Packers, like I said, I thought they did a really good job of just not letting Jaden Daniels get outside of the pocket the way that he wanted to. He scrambled 7 times in this game, and he did not have a first down. According to the broadcast, that is the first time that's happened since 2018. 2018! Like, for them to do such a good job of containing who we think is, I don't know, the second or third scariest rushing threat in the league at the position to no first downs on scrambles is just like, that's a pretty special defensive performance.
That's a why Jaden Daniels of all people. Yeah. I mean, Lamar maybe is better than him. You could probably throw Justin Fields. Those are the only guys that I could even think of. I know Jalen Hurts is good as a scrambler. I would take Jaden Daniels. I don't even think that's controversial.
Josh maybe, but like that's the Mount Rushmore. It's those 4.
Yeah. Josh for sure. I mean, well, what was the other one? Oh, and the blitz. The blitz was so good in this game. They highlighted that on the broadcast as well. Jaden finishes 3 of 10 for 26 yards and a touchdown against the blitz, which even those stats are skewing it because 10 yards and the touchdown came in the most garbage time of all garbage times. Like when the game was on the line, Jaden Daniels didn't have an answer for a blitz. And I think that is a testament to the pure speed of the guys getting after him in this game. Like we saw all the memes last week of Micah Parsons hawking down Jared Goff, but he's absolutely fast enough to hawk down Jaden Daniels too, which is a wild thing to say.
Yeah. And honestly, the only part of this that I do think is like long-term concerning potentially for Washington, or at least for the next handful of weeks while he's trying to get his sea legs under him, Josh Connerly had a tough night, and not even
but
it wasn't just against
Parsons.
It wasn't just against Parsons.
All
like
right.
Gary got him a couple times. It was all the guys, and I do think that,
the other like really really well paid good edge rusher. I mean, Rashawn Gary's a good player now.
He's gonna play some good ones, man, especially in that division. Like it's gonna be tough, and so I think if he's gonna have to deal with that, and he's gonna play and he didn't look great week 1. And this is tough because I do think Connerly is a very talented player, but the first 2 weeks have been very tough for him. But to your point, I mean, we can probably count on our hands how many like if we counted on our hands, the best 5 pass rushes, like New York and Green Bay might be on there by the end of the year. So that is fair.
There's a play I want to highlight, and then we can talk about something else from this game. But it was the 3rd and 3 in the second half. I think it was the third quarter, but it's a 3rd and 3, and Micah and Edgerrin Cooper do like a little stunt together where Micah just ran through Josh Connerly like he wasn't even there. Just sunned him. And meanwhile, Edgerrin Cooper loops around the guard and comes through the gap, and they just meet at the quarterback like in the blink of an eye. And like if Edgerrin Cooper was fun last year when he was doing this without Micah Parsons, but if he's your cleanup guy who only has to get there after number 1 messes everything up, like it's a ton of fun. I cannot wait to watch these guys do this all year. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Let's move to the Green Bay offense, which, like I said, I feel like I'm definitely nitpicking. Like when you talk about an offense that was without 2 starting O linemen in this game, I think this was a very good performance. Jordan Love throws for 292. They're getting whatever they want in the passing game. The running game, not super exciting, but kept things on schedule. But it did make me think of what Robert said on our show last week, where like when it's good, it's really good. And when it's not, it can be very frustrating. And even I'm trying to remember that the Packers were without 2 starting O linemen, because I did kind of get frustrated by watching them in the second half of this game. Like I want more, which feels selfish, but that's just how I feel.
I think it's almost more frustrating because it's not that it looks terrible when it's bad. It's just that it feels like when it's really good, it's like you guys can clearly just flip this switch whenever you want to. Like, why couldn't you do this for 1 or 2 more other drives? Like, especially there was that one drive when it seemed like Washington was maybe like, okay, this is going to be a game. I think when it was maybe like 10-17, and the Packers just immediately rip off like a 5-play scoring drive where like every play is this designery little, just like stupid little play that Matt LaFleur has cooked up to get somebody open for 15 yards. And it's just like, when they really, really want to turn it on, they can. And I do think that's a good point, though, that like your entire offense can't be that. And I think when they do get into some more of their base stuff, like you still wonder, like, do they have a receiver who can just beat you one-on-one? If the offensive line is down 1 or 2 guys, are they good enough to just hold up against a bunch of pass rushes? I don't know, but I still think that like they can get to enough of the designery stuff that like that they can be cooking. Like the one sequence I really want to point out in terms of that. So they had, I think it was on the second drive of the game, they went into 13 personnel and had 2 of the tight ends to the right side. They motioned Savion Williams, their rookie draft pick, from left to right and get him flying out up the sideline as the number 1. And then they run verts with the other 2 tight ends. And Kraft is just like wide open as the number 2 guy in verts. Later in the game, they get into 11 personnel, very similar formation. And they like yo-yo motion Savion Williams from right to left and then back to the right. And they run the same exact play and hit it again. And it's just like, man, the way that Matt LaFleur can just piece this stuff together is it's special.
I'm stealing this from somebody on Twitter, and I'm sorry that I can't remember who it was, but I follow a lot of Cowboys people from my time as a Cowboys writer. And what was this coaching matchup? It was Matt LaFleur going against Dan Quinn. And there were definitely some plays that reminded me of that wild card playoff game where I was like, how does Tucker Kraft have a 57-yard catch and run? Like, how is the tight end that all alone that he can get that far downfield? And it kind of feels like Matt LaFleur just has Dan Quinn's number with what he wants to do.
He really does. And like I especially think like if you're going to play against a Dan Quinn defense, who in a lot of this game, especially earlier on, they were playing a lot of man coverage. If you're getting man coverage, man, you got to be aggressive as a quarterback and as a play caller to be like, okay, if you're going to play man-to-man, one-on-one, we're going to try to beat you over the top, or really any sort of single high coverage. And I think we know very well that Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur are extremely willing to do that. Like, I don't remember what he finished at, but I know at some point again in this game, Jordan Love had like a 15 average yards, average depth of target, which that probably came down a little bit towards the end, the same, which was also true of last week. But like, the way this defense, the fact that they are able to, or this offense, the fact that they are able to get away with being that aggressive, it is like, it's pretty insane stuff. And I also thought Jordan Love he took like a couple of sacks in this game, and there were a couple of times where the offensive line got beat pretty quickly, but I thought he generally did a good job of like not doing the stupid stuff and like getting the ball out where he needed to, making plays outside of the pocket, some throwaways, stuff like that.
I thought there were so many good throwaways. They were also funny
Mhm.
because like he just yeets that thing
Yeah.
like how when people go like Kobe, like when they throw like a wadded up ball of paper in the trash, like that's how Jordan Love throws the ball away. Like he's just fade awaying. Uh, but yeah, no, I thought he made a lot of smart decisions. And again, this was a compromised offensive line. Like he was pressured a lot in this game.
Mhm.
I lost the number. Yeah, 47% of his dropbacks, he was pressured by the Washington defense. So to play smart, even if it wasn't always smooth, I thought was a step in the right direction for sure.
And like that's the whole thing with Jordan Love, right? Is like, can we just get him to make two weird plays a game instead of 4 or 5? And like I really feel like this game, especially again when he's pressured as much as he was, to have some of the throwaways, to generally, like, there was only one play he had in this game where I was like, that feels a little aggressive. I think it was like a 3rd and 11. He got pushed out to his left and he just heaved it like 60 yards downfield into double coverage. That was the one time where I was like, Jordan, I don't know if we should be doing that. But otherwise, like, I think he played a pretty put together game. Also, one other thing I want to quickly mention with the Packers, the catch that Malik Heath made on the
Oh,
sideline was unbelievable. Like when it happened, I was just like, out of bounds. Like I didn't even consider that he could have caught the ball. And then they show the replay and it's like, holy shit, he caught the ball. Like he pretty clearly caught the ball, actually. Like just an unbelievable effort.
that's how you and all 60 whatever thousand people at Lambeau Field felt. I love when that happens where there was like no reaction to the catch because everybody felt pretty confidently that it was out of bounds. And then on the broadcast, you can hear that the fans are seeing it on the Jumbotron and they're starting to freak out like, oh my God, that was a catch. The other one, too, it doesn't show up on the stat sheet and it sucks because he got hurt. Hopefully, Jaden Reed's injury is not too bad, but amazing catch on that like
Mm-hmm.
deep crosser on I think it was the first possession of the game where he gets into the end zone and falls on the ball. Like I said, it looked like it
Mm-hmm.
might be a collarbone injury. I hope it's not a long lasting one, but what an amazing play that ultimately gets brought back by a holding flag. That really upset me.
That one definitely upset me. Like that was like the pitch and catch there was like there really isn't much room else for Jordan Love to put that ball anywhere, and then Reed makes an incredible catch on it. Like that was just, and that was again man coverage. And it's like if the defense is gonna play a little bit of man coverage like this, play caller and quarterback aligned, we're like, all right, let's throw it over your head, and they did. And so that was one where when you knew they were gonna start doing that early in the game, like the Packers want to do that anyway. But when you saw them hit it like that, even though it got called back for a penalty, you were like, oh, they might do that for 4 quarters, and they certainly tried. You know, it kind of went up and down in terms of the efficiency of it, but they were certainly trying.
I'll say one more time. I know Zach Tom and Aaron Banks didn't play in this game. So again, maybe I shouldn't hold them to such a high standard. Does it worry you? I don't think worry is the right word. Is it interesting to you at all that the Packers run game has been kind of boring through 2 weeks? I mean, you know, and like the most interesting runs that they had tonight were the 2 receiver runs. Like Matthew
Mm-hmm.
Golden had one, and you mentioned Savion Williams had one as well. Like they got him outside on an end around. Josh Jacobs is a workhorse and keeps things going, but like they're not hitting good, explosive, efficient, interesting runs in this offense. And I know their line was compromised, but it did stand out to me a little bit.
No, I'm with you because there were even a lot of these plays where it's like, man, that was only blocked for 3, and then you have such a good back that maybe Jacobs squeezes like 4 or 5 out of it because he does a good job of just like wiggling around a block, or he trudges forward for 1 more yard, and so he was getting a little bit more than was blocked. But yeah, I think the run game right now is, again, I'll give them a little bit of grace because they did not have their guys, but they've been shuffling around the offensive line since like May, and so there's just a chance that this is not fully figured out for them until like November, which I have some faith that they'll get there, but in the meantime, it's not great. And like you mentioned, the 2 receiver runs, even one of their other best runs was like they had some RPO where they just like, shifted Kraft out to the left and then motioned a receiver out to the left for a flare screen and it emptied the box. And that's the only reason the run hit. But like some of their under center trying to pull stuff, like it is not hitting, I think, as well as you would probably like it to. But again, if the passing offense is going to be that explosive, they can get by for now with this run game.
I mean, like I said, back to back weeks where you've scored 27 points and not really been worried about the outcome for most of the second half. Like we're like looking for flaws here. Like the Packers are fine. But like I said, if they can be this good while I still see things that I would like to be better, like that is that is a terrifying proposition for the rest of the NFC if the Packers have room to grow, a lot of room to grow, in my opinion. And it's Cleveland up next, it's Dallas after that. Like after these two teams, it seems at least like the schedule eases up a little bit. So I'm curious to see where they take it from here.
And they get what, a week 5 bye week? That might be like perfect for them trying to get their offensive line fully figured out for the rest of the year. So like they've got pretty favorable spot here.
Here's a half-baked take for you. I
Mm-hmm.
think it is such an advantage also to have an early season Thursday night game and get this mini bye to sort of tamper with things and self-scout. And it's like a fake bye early in the year, like just enough games to kind of know what you're looking at, but you haven't been through the grind where everybody's beat to hell already. So I think that's something that they could really use in their favor as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to completely ignore the Commanders, but I don't know. This feels like a take the tape and burn it type of game where I'm just like, hey, man, short week. You run into a buzzsaw. Brutal night for them just from an extracurricular standpoint. Like you lose Dietrich Wise on an extra point, no less, which is especially brutal. Hopefully it's not too bad for him, but like when the card comes out, doesn't give you good vibes. And then Austin Eckler suffers what looks like an Achilles injury toward the end of this. So not only do you kind of get, beat up on the field, but very physically with injuries too. So just a bad night. And I don't want to let it affect my opinion of the Commanders too much for all of those reasons, but clearly just the lesser team in pretty much every way on Thursday night.
Yeah, and like I'm not going to hold it too harshly against them because I think I went into the season you're a nice team, but you got to prove some things to me, and so we'll kind of see on that front.
It doesn't wind up mattering at all. Obviously, Green Bay won this game going away. I felt like I could feel Dan Quinn's desperation here with the trotting out Matt Gay 3 different times to kick from 50 yards. He went 3 of 9 from 50 plus last year with Indianapolis, and he's a 50% kicker from long range over the last 2 years. And then he makes one from 51, which is like, great. Hey, we got one from Matt Gay. Like that's a win. And then Dan Quinn follows that up by kicking from 58 with a guy who is not known for that at all. And it almost cost him at the end of the half. Like, obviously it winds up being kind of irrelevant, but the Packers needed 2 plays to get into field goal range for themselves. And then if that's not bad enough, at the start of the third quarter, they do it again. And like, well, maybe he'll be good from 52 this time. I was like, you guys feel really desperate. Like it feels like you don't really trust that this is going the way that you want it to.
Yeah, the second 52, I can maybe give them the 58 yarder. Is like we're really pushing it here for kind of no reason.
So, like I said, bad night for the Commanders on the field. They get a couple big injuries, or at least they look like big injuries. They follow it up with the Raiders in week 3. Jaden Daniels versus Geno Smith. I can sign up for that. It's funny. Like I consider this a very nice win for the Packers, but like I said, I'm just tossing this aside for the Commanders where I'm just like, I think the Packers are on the short list of real deal contenders. And even if the Commanders can get there at some point, they're just not there right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. Burn the tape and we'll move on.
But my thoughts about the age and slowness of this Commanders roster, that's kind of what I was worried about. Like when you go up against a unit like this, like I said, just the feeling of looking like you don't have any answers and you don't have somebody that can match the juice that you're getting from the opposing team. I thought it showed up in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun night for the Green Bay Packers. Really fun night if you like watching Micah Parsons do his thing. Derek, I appreciate the assist once again. I believe Robert will be back for these live recaps starting next week. So we got a Monday night doubleheader on Monday of week 2, and then Thursday night football next week, I believe, is the Dolphins and the Bills. So I can't wait for the week 2 data point that tells us how worried we should be for Miami going into that game.
I'm already scared of what that's going to look like. I'm really terrified.
I will reserve judgment until I see the Dolphins play the Patriots. But yeah, we might be back here talking about a similar result next week after the Thursday night game. But until then, Derek, I appreciate it, man. Thanks to y'all for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.